All right, everybody. My name is Salandia Hammond, aka Sueham, baby, and I'm so excited that you joined me tonight on this webinar. We are going to go over the key steps required to buying a home. I want to break it down for everybody. I want to break it down so it can forever be broken, because a lot of people think it is so challenging to purchase a home and or refinance a home. And that is simply not the case. There are steps required. There are things that's got to be done. But if you've got yourself in order, the home buying and or the refinance process does not have to be difficult at all. So we're going to get into this real quick. Just some housekeeping rules. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. I will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. The presentation should be about 30 minutes or less, and then we will have a Q&A session. Make sure you have your questions already queued up, either in the chat or type them at the end of the presentation, and I will answer them so that we can keep it moving. All right. So about me, in case you don't know me, many of you probably found me from social media, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I am Salandia Hammond, also known as Sueham, baby, and I am from South Carolina, just relocated to Horry County, the Myrtle Beach area. I'm a real estate investor. I buy homes, I sell homes, I fix them. I fix them and I sell them for profit. I fix them and I rent some of them. But I'm also a licensed mortgage broker loan officer, which means that I can help you get financing for your home, whether that is to purchase a home or whether that is to refinance a home. Either way it goes, I can assist you with that. So I wanted to do this webinar because I realized that there are a lot of people that I have been doing free consultations with that have no idea about the home buying process, what it takes, the steps they should go in. So today on this particular webinar, what you can expect to learn are the actual steps of the home buying, what kind of credit scores that are needed, and the type of loan programs that are out there. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off and take myself out of the screen so that we can have the full screen. There we go. And boom. So let's get started. A lot of people say you don't need money to purchase a home. Well, yeah, you kind of do. You might not need to have your money. And in some cases, I'll even tell you about a case that I incurred for myself personally. You can actually get money back at closing, right? But what I do recommend is have some type of money, because there will be inspections that you'll have to pay for. I recommend that anytime you are buying a house that you have a home inspection, and home inspections could range between $350 all the way up to $700. You're going to be required to have an appraisal, although sometimes when you're doing a refinance, you don't necessarily have to pay an appraisal fee. They can do a desktop appraisal, which means you don't have to pay anything for it. They don't send anyone out to your house. They're just simply looking at the comps online to see what the houses that are similar to yours have sold for. And that's what they base your value of your house. Typically, you do have to have a down payment unless you're a veteran or unless you're going through a USDA program. And typically, you have to have closing costs. Unless you can get the seller to assist with closing costs, these are things that you will need money for. Now, how much, Sue, would you say I need to have? Typically, I would say have about 7% of the sales price of the house. An example, $100,000 house, I would say have $7,000 put away. That $7,000 should cover your inspections, appraisal, down payment, and closing costs. So approximately 7%, unless you can get down payment assistance from government programs, and some lenders have a down payment assistance, but I have to be honest with you, you're looking at a higher credit score to get that. Or unless you can get the seller to pay towards some of your closing costs, and you won't need to bring as much to closing. All right. Many people think that the first step is finding a realtor. And while finding a realtor is amazing, all of the realtors are going to point you right back to me, the loan officer, because they're going to tell you need a pre-approval. Why do you need a pre-approval? They're not going to take you into somebody's house if you do not show that you are a legitimate buyer. They're not going to take you into someone's house if your credit and your identity have not been verified, validated, because that could pose a legal issue. It could also pose a safety issue. So they're going to redirect you back to me, the mortgage broker loan officer, to issue you a pre-approval. Now, let me tell you the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval. A pre-qual is just simply you telling me your name, your address, you telling me how much you make, you telling me what you think your credit score is, you telling me how much money you have in the bank. And based upon what you tell me, not me verifying it, just simply based on what you tell me, I can tell you what you possibly could qualify for. That is not going to get you into somebody's home to see it. A realtor is not going to entertain a pre-qual, a quote, will not do it. What they're going to tell you is you have to have a pre-approval. What a pre-approval does is it gets you in the door to see your house. It tells you how much money how much money you qualify for based on your income, your assets, your debts, your credit, and your reserves, your 401k, retirement information. So get your loan pre-approved first. I don't want to sound like a dead horse, but that's just kicking a dead horse, but that's just the way it is. The pre-approval lets you know how much you can potentially borrow. It sets the budget for the home buying process. Again, realtors will not show homes without a pre-approval. And that is simply because they want to make sure they're not wasting their time. Sellers don't want their times wasted. We don't want any legal issues. We don't want any safety issues. So a pre-approval, like I said, we're going to verify your credit, your identity, because you will have to send in a valid ID. We're going to verify your income. You're going to send in 2 months, 60 days worth of, your last 2 pay stubs. Some people get paid monthly, so that's why I said 60 days. Some people get paid weekly, so we would need 2 weekly pay stubs. If you get paid biweekly, we would need 2 of those pay stubs. Either way it goes, we need 2 pay stubs to verify your income. We're going to need 2 months bank statements. We're going to need 2 years of W-2s, tax returns. Most times the tax returns are only required if you're self-employed. If you're not self-employed, we're not looking at tax returns. If you have retirement accounts and you want to show that you have some money saved up, we'll need 2 month statements of that. Of course, and a valid ID to prove who you are, and we will pull your credit. And if you fall within the guidelines, we will issue you a pre-approval saying, basically the pre-approval level would say something like, Solandia Hammond, you are pre-approved for a loan amount up to $350,000 with Edge Home Finance. And what that is your ticket to get into the game, to start looking for your home, people, your home. One of the great things about me being a broker is that I have access to over 100 lenders, which means I have access to several different programs. Unlike a lot of loan officers that work at banks, they only have what the bank allows, which is sometimes only about 2 or 3 programs. So you're very limited with that. But with me as a broker, I can potentially, for the most part, accommodate a lot of credit types, accommodate a lot of different scenarios. Now, here's the big thing that everybody talks about: credit. My credit sucks, Sue. It's not where it needs to be. A lot of people think the credit has to be perfect. Well, I'm here to tell you that is simply not the case. Now, I will be very honest with you. Of course, the higher your credit, the better terms you're going to get on your loan. But it does not have to be 850 credit score. Typically, though, a 620, 640 or higher middle mortgage score qualifies you for most financing. Now, what people don't realize is that we are looking at your mortgage score. If you want to find out exactly what your mortgage scores are, I hope you have your pencil and paper out. I want you to write down this website. It's called myfico.com. myfico.com. When you run your report on myfico.com, it's not free. I think it's $33. You're going to see 3 credit scores. There's a score for auto, if you're getting an auto loan. There's a score for credit cards, if you're applying for credit cards. And there's a score for mortgages. And that's the score that we look at. Now, here's the most important number on that mortgage score. There are 3 scores. There's your Experian score, there's your TransUnion mortgage score, and there's your Equifax mortgage score. What we're looking at is your middle score. So, for example, write this down on a piece of paper. If you have 3 scores and the score is 600, 610, 615, what you're going to do is throw out the lowest score, which is 600, and you're going to throw out the highest score, which is 615. Your middle score, 610, that is the score that we will use to qualify you for a program. So hopefully that makes sense. We're looking at your mortgage score and we're going by your middle score. So you'll get rid of the low score, get rid of the high score, and what you're left with is the middle score. All right. Now, a lot of down payment assistance programs, they're going to require you to have a 640 or more. So a lot of people looking for down payment assistance, most times you need a 640 or more credit score. Now, we do have programs that will accommodate a 500 credit score, but here's what I got to be honest with you about. You got to bring a bigger down payment, okay? I'm just going to be real with you because the loan is a little bit riskier than a normal loan. So if you have a 500 credit score, and there are a lot of people that have a 500 credit score, but have a whole lot of freaking money. So if you got a 500 credit score, but you have a whole lot of money and you're saying, hey, I'm willing to put down more of a down payment, we have programs that we could potentially get you qualified in. All right. Now, it may require you to have more reserve money. What are reserves? Reserves is money on hand in a savings account, an investment account, or maybe you have a collateral, an asset that can cover your mortgage payments. It may require you to have 6 months of that. So let's say your house note is $1,000 and they say we need to see 6 months reserves. That means they need to see $6,000 somewhere in a savings account, an investment account, or a 401k account that can cover the reserve amount. Okay. Loan programs. Now that we've covered credit, and also I want to go back to credit. Here's a resource I want you to write down. The reason why I didn't put everything on the screen is because I want you to write things down. When you write things down, statistics show that you tend to remember it more. So, and if I repeat things over and over, statistics show that you tend to, retain that more. So that's why. But write this down. The myfico.com, you'll have to pay for that. You can go to Experian.com. You can get your mortgage Experian score for free at Experian.com. You can go to TransUnion.com and get your credit report for free, but I don't think it's going to show the mortgage score. And you can go to Equifax.com. There's also a website called annualcreditreport.com. It's a free service. And I do believe that they are still showing you your credit score right now. In the past, they did not show you credit scores, but since COVID, they have been showing you what your credit scores are. And that website is annualcreditreport.com. I think that is. And then there's always Google. So you can always Google free credit reports and see what comes up to get your credit report. Here's a quick tip for you. If you see something on your credit report that is 7 years and or older, dispute that sucker. If it's a collection, it's 7 years or older, dispute that sucker. If it's a repossession, 7 years or older, dispute that sucker. Because after 7 years, you're forgiven. It's washed away. So you can get that taken off your credit report. You can dispute that in one of 3 ways. You can dispute it online. You can dispute it by calling the credit report agency, and you can dispute it by sending a letter in the mail. Okay. I recommend disputing it online. It's quick. Most times they get it off really, really fast. Loan programs. These are the major loan programs that are out there. Conventional loans, you're looking at 5 to 25% down payment of the sales price. So to put that in perspective, $100,000 house with a conventional loan, you could put down anywhere between $5,000 to $25,000 on that house. Credit scores generally required are 620, 640, middle mortgage score. Okay. FHA, which is what a lot of people are using. Why? Because FHA it does not stand for first time home buyers. It does not stand for first time home buyers. It stands for Federal Housing Administration. It's a government backed loan that's used to help people with less than perfect credit or who may not have as much money as someone who can do a conventional loan. So an FHA loan typically requires you to put down anywhere between 3.5% to 10% down payment. Now, scores can be as low as a 500 for an FHA loan. But remember what I said. If your scores are that low, you're typically going to have to put down more money and your interest rate may be a little higher and you may be required to show 6 months reserves. Not all the time, but sometimes. One thing about an FHA loan that's really, really great is that the seller can pay 6% towards your closing costs. So some people call it seller concessions. Some people say, hey, the seller's paying 6%. When you get a seller that can contribute towards your closing costs, sometimes you can leave the table without even paying anything to get into a home, especially if you can get a down payment assistance program to go with the seller paying 6%. FHA, your credit does not need to be perfect. How do I know that? I can tell you that I've used an FHA loan before on a property in 2020. I had an old repo on there and I was still able to get that mortgage with a 2.75% interest rate. Now that was in 2020 when interest rates were super duper low because you know that thing that was going around. But I am here to tell you that I was able to get an FHA loan with 3.5% down. The seller paid 6% of the closing costs. And I had a repo on my credit that I could not get off. I tried disputing it over and over and over and over again, couldn't get it off. But yet I still got approved for an FHA loan at the time for 2.75%. USDA loans, these are really great loans too. The only thing about the USDA loan is that you can't have a whole lot of debt, right? Your income, DTI is debt to income ratio. So a lot of times people will take into account all of the debts, the electrical bill, the water bill, all of that stuff, right? Those bills are not appearing on your credit report. As a loan officer, what I am looking at when I compute your debt to income ratio, aka DTI, I'm looking at how much are your monthly payments in debt on your credit report. Do you understand? On your credit report. So if you have other debt and it's not shown in your credit report, it behooves you to take that into accountability to make sure that you can afford this house. But as for me, as a loan officer, I can only take into account what I see on your credit report. So I'm going to take all your debts, add them up, your monthly debts, add up the monthly payments, and I'm going to divide that by the amount of money you make. And that'll tell me what your debt to income ratio is. For a USDA loan, you really cannot have a whole lot of debts. Credit score needs to be a 640 or higher. The great thing about it is a 0 down payment. However, it's restricted to mostly rural areas. And there's an income restriction. You can't make but so much amount of money. If you're a veteran like myself, I'm a Marine veteran. I think this is the best thing smoking. I bought a home here in June 2023 with 0 money down because veteran loans are 0 money down. If you are a veteran, if you're active duty or certain surviving spouses, you are entitled to a VA loan depending upon your discharge. A lot of times people say, hey, Sue, I have a bad conduct discharge. Can I still qualify for a VA loan? Here's what I'm going to tell you. 2 things that I'm going to recommend. Number 1 is contact va.gov. Go online, contact them or call them. The phone number is 800-827-1000. I know that bad boy by heart. It's 800-827-1000. Call them and see if you are eligible for your VA cert. And if you are, boom, you qualify. Most times with a bad conduct discharge, you're not going to qualify, but here's the great news. You can request to have your discharge upgraded. That's right. You can request to have your discharge upgraded to perhaps an other than honorable so that you can qualify for a VA loan. But the real way to find out if you qualify is to just simply go to va.gov or give them a phone call at 800-827-1000. So back to my story. Bought a home in June 2023. Didn't have to put any money down. Didn't have to pay any extra insurance because it's a VA loan. You don't have to have perfect credit because, again, it's there to help the veterans. And the seller paid 6% towards my closing costs. So when I went to the closing table, I actually got a check back. The only thing I paid out of pocket for this loan was my inspection for the house and my CO 100 inspection for termites. And in essence, I really got that money back because I got a check at closing. Now, so what's next? After you've been pre-approved in one of those programs, whether it be conventional, FHA, USDA, or VA, after you've been approved, you've given, hopefully me, all of your information. We pulled your credit. We have your income documentations. We have your bank statements. We have your 401k if you have a retirement account. We have your valid ID. And I've put you into a program and I've told you, okay, this is what your rates are. This is how many years you're paying it back. This is what your mortgage payment is. This is what your taxes are going to look like in your insurance. This is the program we're going in. And you're like, okay, good. I'm good with that. The next step then is to start looking at potential homes. This is when you get your realtor. You're going to work with your realtor to find the dream of your homes, the home of your dream. You're going to work with your realtor to find the home of your dream. Now, if you're in the state of South Carolina, there are a few realtors that I can refer you to, but you definitely want a hands-on realtor. You want somebody who understands the home buying process, who can explain it step by step, like how I'm doing it tonight. Somebody who communicates well, someone who gets back to you, someone who negotiates well on your behalf, one who's professional and proficient. A negotiator is a must because when you're doing the home buying process, it's going to be give and take, give and take, give and take. Once you have that realtor, you found the right realtor. It's like a marriage made in heaven, and you found the house that you want. Now it's time to make an offer on that house. That's when your realtor will draft up a contract. So at this point, guys, the loan officer kind of falls back a little bit. The loan officer has done his or her job by giving you the pre-approval. Now it's like, okay, go out there, make me proud, find a beautiful home. Now the realtor comes aboard and the realtor holds your hand. The realtor takes you out to different houses. You choose, okay, I love this house. I want to buy this house. Now the realtor and you put in an offer on this house. And they do that by drawing up a contract. And in that contract, you get to state how much you want to pay for this house. The house could be on the market for $175,000. You may say, I only want to pay $170,000. So you and your realtor will draw up a contract and says, hey, this is our offer price, $170,000. At that time, if you want the seller to help you with closing costs, you may ask the seller in that contract, we would like for you to pay $5,000 towards closing costs, or $10,000 towards closing costs, or $6,000 towards closing costs. Okay. All of that will be in the contract. A good realtor will help you navigate that contract, will help you ask for the right things. Okay. So once the realtor submits that on your behalf, hopefully the seller comes back and say, okay, deal. But sometimes the seller could come back and say, no dice. The seller could come back and say, listen, I got 3 offers on this house. True story. This just happened to me. I sold a house. When was that? A week ago or a week and a half ago. We put the house on the market September 2023. And we had some showings. The house was listed for $178,000. We had some showings. I had someone actually put in an offer for $150,000. Now, again, the sales price, $178,000. And I was like, no dice. That's $28,000 less than what I have it listed for. So fast forward, we're moving into the holiday season. All right. So I have a great realtor. My realtor said, listen, typically over the holiday season, things start to slow down. People are with their families. They are not really interested in going to see houses. But I promise you at the turn of the year, things are going to really, really pick up. So come January, right, I lowered the house to $165,900. So come January, we had 3 offers in one day. And so my realtor told the other agents, hey, listen, my client has 3 offers in one day. And the next day we had 2 more people scheduled to look at the house. So she said, you got to come with your best offer. So one person came back for $171,000, requesting $5,000 in closing fee. Another person came back with $171,000, requesting $9,000 in closing fees. And another person came back at $170,000. So, of course, I took the $171,000 with the $5,000 in closing fee. And then also with that particular one, the realtor on the buyer side actually reduced their fee, which means it was more money for me. So again, hopefully in a good scenario, your offer is accepted. Sometimes it's no dice. If it is no dice, you can go back and negotiate. If you have a good realtor will say, hey, well, they came back and said no, but a good realtor will kind of find out, well, why did they say no? Did they have another offer on the table, or they just don't want that amount? Can we do a counter offer? So that's why it's important that you find the right realtor during this process. So for this scenario, we'll say your offer has been accepted. It's called a ratified contract. Both parties have signed it, the seller and you, the buyer. Now you need to submit your documents over to the lender. The lender is back in the game, okay? You found the house that you want. You got a contract. It's signed. It's ratified. Now the lender is back in the game on the floor, ready to do full court press. And so what's going to happen is at this time, an appraisal is going to be ordered on the house and title work is going to be done. An appraisal is going to be ordered to determine the value of the property. So if they're selling a property for $100,000, that means that property at a minimum has to appraise at $100,000. If that property does not appraise at $100,000, let's just say it appraises at $95,000, then one of 2 things got to happen. One of 3 things are going to happen. They're selling it for $100K. The appraiser says it's only $95K. So you can either go back to the seller and say, hey, it only appraised for $95K. Will you please reduce the price? Here's another real story. Happened to me. Home I was selling in August of last year. I was offered $137,000 for it, but it only appraised for $129,000. I was ready to get rid of the house. So I said, you know what? Boom, let's just go. I went ahead and I sold the house at the appraised value. Just got rid of it because I was ready to move on to something else. So you have option number 1, go back to the seller and say, hey, will you reduce the price to the appraised value? Seller may say yes, like I did. Seller may say no. If the seller says no, now here's option number 2. That means you got to bring $5,000 more to closing if you really, really want that house, because somebody's got to make up the difference between $95,000 and $100,000. Or option number 3, order another appraisal. That's money out of your pocket. But if you really feel that the value is there for that house, order another appraisal and have another appraiser go out there to determine the value. Why? Because the appraised value is subjective. Here's another example of what I'm talking about. I have a duplex. I was getting it refinanced to get some money off of it. One guy came in and said it was worth $110,000. And I knew he was out of his everlasting mind because I had already surveyed the comps and I knew that it was worth a whole lot more. Had I not been knowledgeable and know what comps are, had I not known how to look for those comps to see what other properties similar to mine were selling for, I might have accepted that $110,000 evaluation. But I said no. So I went back to my lender and I said, he's way off. And they said, well, do you want to pay for a new appraisal with the new appraiser? I said, absolutely. Ordered another appraisal, paid another fee, another $600 fee. The value came back at $170,000. First guy told me 110. Second guy told me 170. Appraisals are subjective. Anybody can pull something to justify the numbers. So if you don't feel comfortable with the appraised value, you can always order a new one. All right. So at this time, we're going to order the appraisals. Now your realtor is going to say, okay, we need to inspect the property. Yeah, we got the contract. Now we're in our due diligence period. Due diligence period is where you have this time set up. Most times it's set up for 5 days to 14 days to check out this house to make sure it's in top condition, because you don't want to buy something that you're going to live in over the next 20 years and the roof's caving in or the foundation is no good. So a great realtor will get you connected with the home inspector. Some people don't do home inspections. I do not recommend that. I recommend you do a home inspection. So get your home inspections done. They typically range between $350 to $700, depending on where you live in America. It could be a little bit more. However, on the southeast side of things, for a single family home, you're looking anywhere between $350 to $700 for a home inspection. You're also going to be required to get a termite inspection. That's called a CL100 report. Typically, that's $125 to $200 here on the southeast, where if you live somewhere else in the United States of these Americas, it could be a little bit more. So see, these are some of the things that your inspectors are going to look for. They're going to check the home from top to bottom. They're checking the roof. They're checking the age of the shingles. They're checking if the roof is dipping, if it's warped. They're checking your windows. I got hit one time because the window latch was broken on a window. I had to replace that as a seller. I had to replace that in order to sell the house because the USDA wanted that fixed. So when you do, and that's why a lot of times when you're dealing with government-backed loans, sometimes sellers don't want to deal with government-backed loans. But hey, because USDA can sometimes be a little picky, and sometimes VA loans can be a little picky. It just depends. But they're checking your appliances, they're checking plumbing, flooring, HVACs, foundation, electrical, everything. So this is why I say you always want a home inspection. They're not mandatory, but I feel that as a buyer, you should mandate yourself to have a home inspection done. All right. And then the CL100, the termite inspection, it's doing just that. It's looking for decaying wood rot, water damage, and things of that nature, looking for termites. Now, if you find damages to the house, be prepared to negotiate to try to get these repairs completed. That means having a great realtor, because as a lender, as a loan officer, as a mortgage broker, the bank is not going to negotiate that on your behalf. That's what you and your realtor have to do. So if you find that there is a problem with the unit, the HVAC unit, and you want that fixed, then that's something that you've got to negotiate. Go back to the sellers, do an addendum, like I'm tongue-tied, do an addendum for repairs and lay out on that addendum everything that you would like to see fixed. Now, it doesn't mean that the seller is going to agree to everything, but this is where you guys negotiate, you find a happy median, and you keep it moving. Again, guys, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to answer it at the end of this presentation. By this time, the lender is still working in the background, still waiting on the appraisal to come in. Also, title work has been ordered on the house. So you're just in the waiting stages right now, okay? So just to recap real quick, you sought out a loan officer, you got a pre-approval, boom. Then you went to find a realtor. You and the realtor looked at a few houses. You found a house, boom. You put a contract on the house, boom. The seller says, okay, yes, I agreed to your terms. I want to sell you the house. They sign the contract, you sign the contract, boom. Then you order the inspections to get checked out. If any problems come back with the inspection that you need fixed, you're negotiating that with your realtor to the seller, and you've already agreed on what needs to be fixed, boom. At the same time, the lender, the loan officer and the lender are working in the background, ordering appraisal and title work. By this time, hopefully the appraisal has come back, everything has checked out, the house has appraised at least what you want to buy it for. The title should come back clear, meaning there are no judgments, tax liens, or other mortgages attached to the property that you're purchasing. Because when banks loan you all of this money, they want to be the first person to collect. They don't want to be second place. They don't want there to be any judgments against that property or any liens or anything of that nature. They want to have the first right to get that property back should you default on that property. Title, depending on who the title company is. I know in the state of South Carolina, we have to go through attorneys. Most times, the attorneys that I use, title is back in 14 days. Now, sometimes some attorneys take 30 days, but typically all of this is being done, the appraisal, the title work and everything, all of that's coming back within 14 to 30 days, okay, of you signing that contract. Because as soon as you sign that contract and your realtor gets that contract back to me or your broker or loan officer, then we are ordering the appraisal and we are ordering the title work. All right. So let's just, for the sake of goodness, your title work came back clear. There are no liens, judgments, and nothing against that house. Your appraisal came back clear. Everything's your inspections. You had a couple of things that needed to be repaired. The seller fixed it. You had the house re-inspected. Everything is done. Boom. Now you're just ready to sign on the dotted line. But before you sign that dotted line, your realtor should schedule a walkthrough. It's called a final walkthrough before you buy that house. Typically, the walkthrough is done the day before closing. Most realtors do it like the day before closing. And when you're walking through that house, that's your time to make sure that the repairs that you agreed that were going to be repaired are repaired. That's your time to make sure that the roof hasn't caved in, that the flooring hasn't given out. That's your time to make sure that the pipes haven't busted. You're checking everything, because when you wake up that next morning, you're going to be in that attorney's office and you're going to be signing on the dotted line saying that I accept full responsibility of my brand new or my existing beautiful home, and I'm willing to pay the bank the money that I agreed that I would pay in order for me and my family to have this beautiful home. And that, my friends, is the home buying process. So I want you to take a picture of this, because this is the checklist of everything we went over. I know we went through it fairly quickly, and that's why I wanted to leave time for questions. We actually finished it in 40 minutes like I wanted to. But the first step is you're going to partner with a qualified mortgage brokerage loan officer to get a pre-approval. Second, you're going to find a real estate agent. 3, you're going to start looking for homes. 4, you're going to put in an offer. Get a contract on it, get it signed. Everybody agrees to it. Boom. 5th, you're going to hire a house inspector to check for anything that needs to be done to that house, making sure it's good to go. At the same time, in the background, I'm working on your title search, and I'm sending that appraiser out there to appraise the house. Boom. Then you're going to make sure that the repairs get done. Your realtor will guide you through this within a time frame. While the repairs are getting done, at this time, I should have the appraisal back. I should have your title work back, and all of that is good. So the repairs are now done. And 7 is we're signing that paperwork and we're going to the closing table. I wanted to do this free home loan consultation buyer's workshop with you because a lot of people really don't understand the process. Now, it could take anywhere. Let me see if I can get my face back in here. It could take anywhere between 30 to 45 days to close on a home once you sign the contract. And the reason for that is, again, you got to account for the weekends, might be holidays in there. Also, you got to account for title work, and you got to account for appraisals. Sometimes appraisers are backed up, right? Sometimes attorneys are backed up. So we have to account for all of that. Now, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to see what questions you have. I want you guys to know, if you're interested in buying a home, I would love to help you in that process. I would love to help you get financing. I want to make this bigger real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I would love to help you with financing. Take a screenshot of this slide. You can book a free loan consultation with me at consultwithsueham.com. Basically, with that consult, I'm just going to go over what we went over tonight, and I can address any specifics that you may have. And then from there, if you're ready to apply for a loan, we can do that. I always drop great information on my Facebook page, so take the time to connect with this Facebook page. It's Loans with Sueham, NMLS 87. So take the time to connect with me there. I'm always dropping some great information. And if you want to book a consultation, you can do so. All right. So now we're going to, let's see if there are any questions. Let's go and see what questions you may have. I need help planning a budget and down payment. Okay. I would suggest, and I can assist with that. I don't have a problem with it. I would suggest also Googling budgets and plugging in your bills and plugging in what you can afford, because there's a difference between what you are approved for and what you can afford. And I have a video on that, and it's on my Facebook page. So again, connect with my Facebook page. Some great videos tells you about what you can afford versus what you are approved for, what you qualify for. Down payment, like I said, I would generally factor in about 7% of the sales price for the down payment, and for the down payment and closing costs. 7% for down payment and closing costs is typically what I tell people to do, to factor in. But again, if you listen to the scenarios that I gave tonight, there are cases where sometimes you don't have to put down as much of a down payment because there are down payment assistance programs. And when it comes to closing costs, the sellers can help towards that. Also, you may not have to put down a down payment if you are a veteran or if you're using a USDA loan. Another thing that you can do is you can use a gift. So if you have a family member and they want to give you money for down payment or closing costs, it's called a gift. Now, they can't give you cash because you can't trace that. So they can't give you cash. If they're going to give you a gift towards your down payment or your closing costs, it has to come from their account. An underwriter is going to want to see where it left your family member or your friend's account and went into your account. Cash is not going to cut it. They have to see that it actually came from their account. All right. I once spoke to a real estate agent and she did not disclose FHA as a way to purchase a home, and with it not being a perfect credit score. This is valuable to know. Yes. And, I will say this with the real estate agent, perhaps they did not know. Sometimes real estate agents don't know all of the loan programs that are out there or what the qualifications are. What they should do, though, is align themselves with a good mortgage broker loan officer, and that mortgage broker loan officer can tell you the different programs and can tell you what the requirements are. I need your services in Georgia. Absolutely, Wendy, whenever you're ready. What is the importance of a gift letter? A gift letter is just stating, hey, my name is Solandia Hammond, and I am gifting Sherry $10,000 to help towards her closing costs. Here's a copy of my bank account, or here's a copy of my voided check showing where it left my account. It's just for documentation, period. It just have to see, just write the letter. Most times you don't even have to really do a letter. You just got to show where it came out of your account. But if you got to do a letter, it's a really basic letter. Just saying, hey, you're giving it towards a down payment or closing costs. And they just have to provide proof that it left their account and went into your account. Myra, thanks for the information. It was clear and to the point. Thank you. I tried to keep it clear, no fluff, but good stuff. That's always been my motto when I teach and I train. I don't want to waste people's time. And so I try to be as concise and clear as possible. However, I know that sometimes I talk a little fast and it may not come over as clear as I want it to. That's why I wanted to allot 10 minutes for questions if you guys needed me to go back and clear something up. Let's see, we got any more questions? I want to make sure you guys got those credit. Okay, I don't see any more questions as of right now. Make sure you got those credit websites, myfico.com, 3 mortgage credit scores, right? Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, all have mortgage scores. Go to myfico.com. That's your accurate mortgage score. You're going to pay a fee for that. If you just want to look at your credit just to clean it up, go to, I think it's annualcreditreport.com. It's a free website. You can look at all 3 reports. Anything that's 7 years or older, dispute it. You can call them and dispute it. You can send a letter and dispute it, or you can do it online, dispute it. Again, collections that are really, really old FHA, VA, they're pretty lenient towards that. You don't have to have perfect credit. Do they use FICO 8 or FICO 2 score? With the mortgage score, it's just a mortgage score. That's why I recommend go to myfico.com, because we're looking at mortgage scores. And if you want to know what your true mortgage score is, go to myfico.com, myfico.com, and it will tell you what your mortgage scores are. And we're going to use the middle score. So you will take away the high score, take away the low score, and just use the middle score. Great question. Great question. Saving and paying down debt for the next 6 months. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So it's really, like I said, it's really people make it like, oh my God, I got to have perfect credit to get a house. No, not necessarily. Oh my God, I got to have tons of money to get a house. No, not necessarily. But I always tell people, put money to the side, because you may not qualify for a down payment assistance program. You may not have a family member who wants to gift you the money. You may not be a veteran where you can get in with no money down. You may not qualify for the USDA loan, because again, USDA loan is restricted to certain areas and based on your income. So with that being the case, just save 7% of what you plan to spend on buying a house. Put that to the side. If you don't need it, then great. If you need it, then awesome. But if you can get your credit high enough and qualify for down payment assistance programs, great. If you're a veteran, you don't have anything to worry about. There is no money down, none whatsoever. Alana, awesome. Thank you. I look forward to you contacting me again, guys. The first thing I want you to do is connect with me on Facebook on my site, which is Loans with Sueham on Facebook. Go look that up, connect. You're going to see a bunch of videos, give you a lot of great advice. And if you're ready to talk to me and move forward about starting the home buying process, getting financing, then book a free consultation with me, consult with sueham.com. It's difficult buying a house in another state. Are you going to be living in that house? It has to be your primary. So if you are not in that state right now, but you're moving because of a job, they may ask you to write a letter or send proof that you're moving to a new state. But if it's going to be a primary, if you're getting a loan for a primary residence, then you're going to have to be living in that state. If it's going to be a vacation home, then okay, you got to qualify for a loan based on it being a vacation home, which could require you to put more money down, and it may be a higher interest rate. So hopefully I answered your question. Thanks, Sherry. I'll be looking forward to speaking with you. My credit report has various addresses and old addresses. Simply what I just said, dispute it. If you see anything on your credit report that does not belong on there, dispute it. Relocating due to your job, yes, you're fine. And I'm glad you brought that up. Also, guys, typically we're looking for 2 years W-2s, right? Somebody may say, I haven't been working for 2 years. I just got out of school. I've only been working a year. Okay, well, we would write a letter stating that that's the case. That's why you don't have 2 years W-2s. Somebody might say, but I haven't worked at the same job for the last 2 years. And that's fine as well, as long as it's in the same line of work. So that is fine. If you've only been at your new address 6 months and you relocated, that's fine, as long as we can get another year and a half worth of residential addresses for you. So if you're relocating due to a job, that's fine. That's fine. You could still get a loan. But if there's anything on your credit that is not accurate, dispute it. Phone number, address, name, dispute it. Everything. If it has somewhere that you lived and you never lived there, dispute it. If it's got a debt on there that does not belong to you, dispute it. If it's a debt that's 7 years old or older, dispute it. You've got 3 ways to do it. You can call them, you can send a letter, or you can do it online. Dispute it. Any other questions? Those are great questions, by the way, really great questions. Any other questions? Again, follow me on Facebook, book a free loan consultation if you need to. But I will say this, if you're booking that loan consultation, Book it with the intent to really have some great questions that you want to ask me so that we can move forward to getting you into your home. But if you're booking it and we've already covered it here on the webinar, I would ask that you watch the webinar again because you may have missed it. Watch it again. And then if you can get it from the webinar, cool. If you can't, then please book the loan consultation with me. I will be more than willing to talk to you. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. You would do me a huge favor, a huge favor. I would love it if you could just go to my Facebook page and just leave a comment about the webinar. I would totally appreciate that so much. If you have any more questions, you can definitely hit me up. Okay, one more. I'm relocating to another state, been on my job 15 years, living in my home 10 years, selling here, buying a new home in North Carolina. Okay. Yeah, you would have no problem getting financing. You've been on your job 15 years. And yeah, you're relocating. Yeah, you should have no problem. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. All right, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. Hope you got some great stuff. I'll talk to you soon. And listen, I'm hoping that I can help you along your journey of home ownership. Blessings to you all.